Coach, after the game, you mentioned that it's kind of evident that you're lacking that playmaker on the defensive side of the ball like you had from Dane last year. But you guys are doing enough to obviously win games. I mean, does the recipe for success here now change a little bit with the way the defense has been performing?
I think our defensive guys will just get better and better as they go along. I think there's guys on our defensive line that are young guys that have the potential to be great players. When you look at even a Dane Fletcher, when he was a redshirt freshman, he was playing primarily on special teams. And later on in his career, he's a dominant Buck Buchanan finalist and an NFL guy. So I'm hopeful that on our defensive side we have guys that will develop into those kind of playmakers.
And do you feel more confident about the approach that you and Jamie will have this week? I remember you mentioned that you guys were going to try to create more 0 yardage, negative yardage plays, but then after that screen play kind of busted out, you had to kind of throw that out of the playbook.
That's exactly what happened, and so we had to retool a little bit of the game plan. Northern Colorado had a very good answer that they had prepared during the week, and so that was, hats off to them. And we had to move on to some different concepts, and this week will be the same thing. We have to study what we did last week and know that's what Idaho State's preparing for, and find some different solutions.
Coach, just going off Tim's point that he made earlier, Perez, he's given up -2 return yards all season. Cunningham leads the country in field goal percentage with guys over 10 attempts. Give yourself like a pat on the back for that kind of thing, or what's the explanation for just how good the special teams have been?
Recruiting is a big part of success in football, and we've recruited well at those positions. We've used some of the kicking services to help us identify good kickers, and Cunningham and Perez both came through the same kicking service that we've used. So I think that's a big place to start with it. We've also been able to get some better return personnel in our game, but I think the biggest impact that I've tried to make is I've tried to motivate and get the guys that are in what I call the core, the guys that run down on kicks and guys that protect for kicks, and those guys to be motivated to play those plays. And we've got a great group of core guys that never get their names mentioned, that play on all these special teams and do a great job for us. I think that's been a big asset for us this year.
Yeah, it seems like it's like an overlooked part of the game with offense defense. Obviously, getting the majority of the attention. How many would you say that the punting game, just the way you've been able to win field position battles, and Cunningham's kicking has given you guys maybe a win or two that you would not have gotten?
I definitely think so. I think the special teams in general have kept us in games and have helped us win. And we take Jason Cunningham for granted around here, and that's just not. It's not fair because he's so automatic, even at great distances on his kicks, and we assume we're going to get those points, and not everybody can do that. We're very fortunate.
Jason's been here for a few years, but where did Rory come from? You had Fisher graduate, and also you had this punter come.
Actually, we worked very hard throughout the winter to try to find a punter, and we had a couple guys slated that were ahead of Rory before we ever found Rory Perez. And at the very last minute, we lost our top punter out of California. He went to a WAC school, and so I was back to square one, a lot like I was with Cunningham, right at the end of the recruiting period, and called my contact and got a couple names and watched Rory's tapes, and I picked him to be the guy I wanted because of his hang time, and he had the academics, and we got him actually the week after the signing date, so we signed him late.
Coach, you said Idaho State's had 2 weeks to prepare for you, so they had a bye week, I imagine, than last week. I mean, in your experience, do teams usually come out harder out of the bye week? Do they add wrinkles usually that you haven't seen on tape out of the bye week?
I think sometimes it helps. I think a lot of times teams are fresher. They get a guy or two back, and they're not as banged up from the game the previous week. The only advantage sometimes you have against a team that's had a bye week, sometimes they try to do too much. They try to put too many things in, and they get their game plan a little too busy. So we'll have to hope that happens.
Lastly, from me, I heard Dustin O'Connell might be practicing this week. Can you talk a little bit about the timetable for his return?
Dustin is going to practice this week, and he's still not cleared to play this Saturday, however. It's going to depend on how he goes this week. He's got a chance, but it's not definite. We're going to see how that goes.
Think he had a reasonable shot to get back by Weber?
Oh, I would think so.